And here's my next album. Now, I've shown you a video before where I showed you an album that's made up of a series of pockets and tags. And this is not an original idea, the basic elements of this. This comes from somebody else. I've got to find her name and give her credit. And I'm sorry if she sees this video and thinks I stole her idea. Well, I did steal your idea. You have a lot of good ideas. And when I figure out what your name is, I will give you credit in future videos. But in the meantime, I did my own variation on this. Now what I did was, to start with, just let me grab it, is I created a template first before I designed it. So I'll just move this to the side and put this here and show you. And here's my template. So on here I have marked everything, all my measurements, my scoring marks, that kind of thing. I call this a curvy album simply because it's got curves along the edge with it, and I use curves or scallops on the tags. But you see, with this one, the prototype, you have a tag, you have a tag, you have another small tag, and that's just an embellishment. So you have these pockets, and then when you flip it over, it has this side. Now this all opens up. There's a place for a picture or journaling, and then this opens up. Now you heard that little, the sound of Velcro? Well, to keep these pages closed, I just put a Velcro tab on each one, sort of secures it. You open it up, you've got another place for journaling, another place for picture or journaling. Open this up, lots of place in here for more stuff. And to bind this, you cut the paper before you do any of the folding. You do some basic scoring, and then the holes will go here. So you don't have to add a binding to it. You build the binding into it. Maybe one day I'll make an actual detailed video of how to do that. Although you can find it on the on YouTube videos as well. I can't take credit for that idea. What I can take credit for is the variation on this idea. So that was my prototype, and now this is what the end result. So again, those of you that have seen some of my videos before know that to make covers, I like to do a laminate process where I layer 2 sheets of pattern paper on either side of a piece of white cardstock or stiff cardboard, and then I cut it using the Cricut and use the deep cutting blade and go over it about 5 or 6 times to get a nice clean cut, and that makes a nice substantial cover. Also on this cover, this paper that I used on this side, I had a strip of it left over, so I cut out these butterflies using the Cricut. I used some dimensional squares, pop dots, raised them up so it gives it a 3D effect, and add a little bit of stickles just for some glam. So inside. So here's the pages. You saw the prototype. Now you can see I had a little problem with this album because I got a little carried away with my embellishments and made it kind of thick. Again, if I was to make this one again, I would probably look for flatter embellishments so the book actually sits a little better, a little flatter. Here's those tags. Just pattern paper, cut it out really quick, tied a ribbon on it. Same here, 2 sides. So places to put your journaling, extra pictures. Little tag here. Put something on the back. Fits in here. Then flip it over. Hope this is in the shot. Just move it a little bit closer. And here you have the fold-out pages. I put a little cheap pearl here. Again, dollar store. Great place for embellishments. The Velcro to hold it shut. And then, remember I mentioned in the video that I did about the mini folder album book, and I talked about jelly art. And jelly art, you just do a search on YouTube. You'll find lots of things about the jelly art stuff. It's my new favorite toy. It just makes really neat backgrounds. And I use the Cricut to cut these shapes out. And then on this fold out, the other one, when I showed you the prototype, it was plain paper. What I decided here was to actually create a spot where you could do some lengthy journaling. So I cut out my basic shape, and it's glued onto the base piece here. And before I cut it out with the Cricut, I actually ran it through my printer. I created a lined page of paper. I ran the cardstock, which was an off-white, through the printer. It made the lines. And then I used a distressing technique, which one that everybody's really familiar with. I sprayed misted this with water, crumpled it up into a ball really tight so I get lots of wrinkles, laid it back out, sprayed it with, dried it slightly. Now there's different methods for drying. I just use an old iron for that and press it down, and that dries it quick. You could let it dry by hand as well, or over the course of a half an hour or something like that, but I was in too much of a rush, so I used my iron. And then I sprayed it with walnut ink that I've created into a mister, and did the same on the back, and that becomes a journaling flap. So I thought that was kind of neat. So that seals up. So the other pages are all the same, just different colors. You have this, and then this one. It's a great way to get rid of your scraps too of patterned paper. Again, I don't know, I did do a little bit of coordination here with colors, because I picked these, the blue, the red, the light brown, and the green as my base, and then I did try to find some scraps that sort of went with that color scheme. But I don't get too uptight about the color scheme, because I find it makes it interesting. And then of course the last page and over. And then just to add a little excitement to the binding, I just used some fiber, tied it on. So that's what I call my Curvey album.